I just wanted to highlight a couple of really good tweets here. First of all, Bumbadum says, Zero is gemming out. I refuse to let this absolute banger truke of a post go unretweeted. So true. Don't lose hope. Stop blackpilling. Zero HP Lovecraft says, there is a type of guy who feels betrayed when you tell him his life is not hopeless. That's a truke. What is the psychology behind this? Like, what is it that motivates a guy to react this way? Why would someone feel personally attacked and betrayed when someone tells him his life isn't hopeless? How do you get to that point? Do you see why that is not a healthy place to be? And I'm not speaking from the perspective of you irritate the fuck out of me, even though you do irritate the fuck out of me. I'm saying, like, bro, what's going on with you? These are like red flags that you should be aware of. When someone tells you your life isn't hopeless, you think you were betrayed. You've got much deeper issues you need to sort out than worrying about whatever the political goings-on are of the day. You've got issues that mass deportations are never going to solve. You're using politics as your therapy. And therapy is gay. It makes you feel worse. That's why you feel worse and worse and worse. You see how this becomes a spiraling, compounding problem. You feel betrayed when someone tells you your life's not hopeless. And someone says, no, don't feel betrayed. Have some hope. You betrayed me too. This is why despair is a sin, as Jeff Accordion just said in the chat. This is why. Because it becomes a self-fulfilling downward spiral. And despair is not someone else's problem. Despair is not the product of somebody else did something bad, and until their bad thing is fixed, I'm going to despair. No, despair is a choice. It has nothing to do with the external world. You decide that you're going to despair. And only you can undecide. Because you have agency. At least hopefully. Cash Nicholson, another powerful patriot poster. Follow the man. Cash_Nicholson. I mean, look at that. Look at that avatar. Or PFP or whatever we call it these days. You know the guy's a patriot. Talking about the generation warfare. Anti-boomer stuff and everything. He says, in quotes, everything sucks. You have no agency. You will die poor and alone. And also your parents, grandparents are selfish and evil and you should hate them. This does not seem like winning messaging to me. It's very easy to be sucked into this, especially when you're a young dude. This sort of sentiment is everywhere. And Zoomers, you're not like new to this party. I mean, you are new to this party. This party's been going way longer than you've been around. Every generation has had to overcome this sort of psychological conditioning. But anybody who's talking to you like this, or just in the vicinity, you walk by and you hear someone like this, you cannot expose yourself to that. People who spread this type of thinking, especially among an audience of young men, are committing a grievous sin. May God have mercy on their souls. You, as a young man, in your 20s and 30s, you are at one of the most transformative periods in your life where your agency can take you further than just about anywhere else. The gains that you can attain now will define the rest of your life. Yeah, lots of the traditional pathways have been blocked. That means there's extraordinary opportunity in virtually every other domain. And if you're a powerful, high agency white man, then you don't need someone to hold your hands through this. In fact, you will resent someone trying to hold your hand through it. You want to go figure it out on your own. You want to scrap and claw and dig your way out. You want to be proud of what you produce. I had an interesting conversation with Amy over the weekend. And I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in the Kingpilled, in the Discord voice chat the other day. But I don't think I talked about it here on the show. If I did, forgive me for repeating myself. But we were talking about how with Gaga here visiting, she's been totally checked out of her normal routine of like following the news and keeping up to date with everything that's going on. She hasn't been able to listen to the shows nearly as much because she's with Amy and Eastwood. Thank you, Emperor Atreides. So she was like, yeah, I've been kind of out of the loop. I don't really know what's going on. And Amy just said, yeah, you don't have to worry about that stuff. Let the men take care of it. And first of all, based. And then it kicked off like, excuse me, just a sec. It kicked off a series of thoughts for me. Man, YouTube just went down again, I think. I don't know what's going on today. And the first thing I thought was, I was like, oh yeah, based. I married well. I gave her like the hard eyes. And then I kind of went into imagination land sort of, and I was thinking about before women's suffrage and in past times, there's the narrative that like women were just these oppressed slaves or whatever, and then guys will be like, oh yeah, they were, and it was based, and when actually, you're just living in the same dialectic. No, women were very esteemed members of society. Women wielded a lot of political power. In fact, they've become almost politically disempowered through the recent events. And I was thinking of it from the frame of like that impulse. That's the natural feminine impulse. Let men take care of the political matters. But it's not like, ooh, the political thing too big and tough for me. I don't understand the political thing. The men gotta do it. I too dumb. No, it's like, ooh, gross. Like politics and all of that, boring and like debating and talking about all that stuff. Like, ugh, gross. Keep that to the men. You take that outside. I'm here, like, doing all the stuff that matters, raising the kids, taking care of the home, collecting all of the local gossip, staying plugged into everything that's happening. This is the woman's domain. Remember, I said civilization is fundamentally gynocratic because civilization is the thing that men build around women so that the women can do their women's thing in peace and safety and security. And then it struck me that everyone's heard the thing, like I when I was growing up, you hear people say that you don't talk about politics and religion at the holiday dinner table or whatever, and there's this like politics and religion became like you don't talk about that in polite company. It's like embarrassing to be publicly political, and that's gross and yucky and it's uncouth. Politics is like this yucky, dirty game, and it's like for scummy, yucky people. And I realized that whole mentality is the Longhouse. That's the Longhouse. No, don't be in politics. Everything's bad and gross and yucky and terrible over there. There's nothing to be gained in that. That's a waste of time. That's, it's just like a bunch of like corruption and arguing and violence and backstabbing and all that. That's not polite and distinguished and dignified. You shouldn't be you don't get that stink on you. That's the Longhouse. The extent to which politics is that way is dictated by the extent to which men permit themselves to be imposed upon by that perspective. I mean, it's always the game of power is always going to have corruption and evil and compromise and milquetoast and water down and all of that stuff. Yes, that's always going to exist. That's not a feature of politics, that's a feature of humanity. Politics is not déclassé and gauche and like no, politics is the domain of men confidently working out power. And relating to politics in this crestfallen, resentful, demoralized way is troonery. You are literally trooning out. Shout out John Doyle. Never has there been a better analogy made. That is trooning out. Blackpilling is gay. There's F's in the chat happening again. So I'd imagine that, yep, dropped frames. No idea what it is. No idea why it's happening. Whatever. It always comes back after a few minutes, so I'll just give it a sec and wait. Pretty soon, it'll reconnect, and we'll continue. And everyone later on will be listening to the recording, being like, oh, those silly live chat people. Desperately posting, what happened? F. All right, looks like people are showing back up again. We're back. Yeah, this is not something unique to Kick. It's happening with YouTube, and it's showing on OBS. There's I wonder if there's like a server issue or something that some setting got changed. I need to think about that. T-Con says we must have deported the little Mexican that runs on the hamster wheel to keep the stream up. Bring back the Mexican. I think you guys are back now, so I'll keep going. I think it's fashionable to be to try to be above it all, to be like, oh, that stuff that happened, that's not representative of me, and that's those other people, that's all their fault, and I'm withdrawn, and I'm too cool for school, and I'm above it all. And this is just the same what I was talking about earlier, the early mid 2000s libs who were embarrassed about the U.S. government because George Bush was a retard, and it's just like a fashion statement. It's maybe you care about the brands that you wear, and you have your special your Louis Vuitton bag or whatever. Or another derivation of this is the things about politics that you think are icky and that you don't want to be associated with, and I'm above it all. And it's just, you're just trafficking in women's fashion. No, you're weak and cowardly and low agency. Get off your ass. Go do something. Go build something. And if you're going to engage in the political arena and commentary and acting like your opinion is worth hearing, then do so like a man. Not a whiny, resentful, complaining, demoralized little boy. Doomers think it's cool to shit on everything and that doing stuff is cringe. Yeah, T-Con. Yeah, and this is this didn't start with edgy right-wingers online talking about politics on X. They just took on the persona of the mid-2000s lib, the mid-2000s Barack Obama voter, but said, but actually I'm racist. You're still just an insufferable cosmopolitan lib. You're a striver. You disgust me.